In the sphere of American public life, few names generate as many headlines as the Trump family. For decades, their story has been told through a relentless cycle of news reports, television segments, social media posts, creating a powerful and often polarizing public narrative. These stories frequently revolve around allegations of financial misconduct, political maneuvering, legal entanglements. However, behind the bold headlines and the heated commentary, there exists a parallel story. One told not in sound bites, but in the quiet, methodical language of documents. This essay will not seek to add another opinion to the fray, but rather to examine the paper trail itself. This exploration is grounded in a simple but critical exercise, comparing the narratives presented in the media with the facts contained within public records. The goal is to separate allegations from confirmed findings, and to understand how legal and financial documents either substantiate or challenge the claims that dominate public discourse. We will look at court filings, official government reports, financial disclosures, and sworn testimony. To conduct a fair and factual analysis, it is imperative to define our sources and methodology from the outset. This essay exclusively relies on public records and credible, widely cited reporting from established news outlets. The primary sources include federal court filings, state court filings, complaints, motions, judgments, settlement agreements. They also encompass official documents from government bodies like the Securities and Exchange Commission, Federal Election Commission, various state attorneys, general offices, congressional reports, transcripts of sworn testimony. These documents form the bedrock of our inquiry. The approach taken here is one of verification. When a headline makes a claim, the first step is to trace that claim back to its origin. If a report alleges a specific financial transaction, we look for the loan agreement, the bank record, the tax filing that confirms it. If an article discusses a lawsuit, we pull the actual court documents to read the specific allegations and the defendant's response. It is important to note that the absence of a public document does not necessarily disprove a claim, but it does mean the claim remains unverified and should be treated as such. We will consistently differentiate between allegations and confirmed facts. Understanding the long and complex history of the Trump family's business and political dealings requires a chronological perspective. A timeline helps to organize the key events, lawsuits, investigations. The story often begins in the 1970s with the family's real estate ventures in New York City. A significant early event documented in court records was a 1973 lawsuit filed by the United States Department of Justice. The suit alleged that Trump Management Corporation violated the Fair Housing Act by discriminating against black applicants for apartments. The Trumps countersued for defamation, but the matter was ultimately resolved in 1975 with a consent decree. The consent decree was a public document in which the company agreed not to discriminate, without admitting guilt. The 1980s and 1990s were marked by ambitious expansion. Casinos in Atlantic City, and airline other ventures, many of which were financed with significant debt. Public records from this era, including bankruptcy court filings, document the financial struggles. For example, the Trump Taj Mahal filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 1991, followed by other Trump casino properties in subsequent years. These filings are confirmed legal and financial events detailing assets, liabilities, and restructuring plans. The 2000s saw a shift in public image, largely driven by the success of the reality television show The Apprentice, which rebranded Donald Trump as a phenomenally successful and decisive businessman. However, this era also saw legal challenges, such as lawsuits from condominium buyers in projects like the Trump Soho, who alleged in court filings that they were misled about sales figures. The period from 2015 onward, beginning with the presidential campaign, brought an unprecedented level of scrutiny. This era is defined by numerous investigations, detailed in reports from Special Counsel Robert Mueller Congressional Committee state prosecutors. For instance, campaign finance filings with the Federal Election Commission documented payments and contributions, while lawsuits concerning the Emoluments clause raised questions about foreign government payments to Trump-owned businesses. More recently, the New York Attorney General's civil lawsuit filed in 2022 and the Manhattan District Attorney's criminal case leading to a 2024 conviction have added voluminous new entries to the public record, all supported by extensive documentary evidence presented in court. At the heart of many controversies surrounding the Trump family are complex financial documents. they can be difficult for the public to decipher. Two key types of documents are property valuations and loan agreements. Valuations or appraisals are professional estimates of a property's market value. These documents are crucial because they are used to obtain loans. These documents are crucial because they are used to secure insurance. These documents are crucial because they are used to calculate property taxes. Allegations have frequently arisen that the Trump Organization provided vastly different valuations for the same property to different entities. For example, a property might be assigned a high value on a statement of financial condition submitted to a bank to secure a loan, but a much lower value in a filing with tax authorities to reduce the tax burden. Visual. The 2022 civil lawsuit filed by the New York Attorney General, for instance, heavily relies on this very comparison. The complaint, which is a public document, lists specific examples where it alleges such discrepancies occurred. It cites internal Trump Organization records. It cites bank loan agreements. It cites tax filings. For instance, the filing alleges that the valuation of Donald Trump's triplex apartment in Trump Tower was claimed to be nearly 30,000 square feet. Property records and other documents allegedly showed it was closer to 11,000 square feet. This is a clear example where an allegation in a lawsuit is directly tied to specific citable documents. Loan agreements are another critical part of the paper trail. These contracts are between a borrower and a lender. They detail the terms of a loan, including the amount. They detail the terms of a loan, including the interest rate. They detail the terms of a loan, including the collateral used to secure it. They also often contain covenants or promises made by the borrower, such as maintaining a certain net worth. Investigations by journalists and prosecutors have often focused on whether the financial statements provided to banks like Deutsche Bank to secure hundreds of millions of dollars in loans were accurate. The documents themselves, the loan agreements and the attached financial statements, are the primary evidence. When investigators obtain these records, they can compare the numbers provided to the bank with other financial records to check for consistency. The significance of these business documents cannot be overstated. They form the basis of legal cases. They provide a factual check on public statements. While a headline might simply say, fraud alleged, the underlying court filing provides the granular detail. It cites the exact document. It cites the specific numbers. It cites the alleged discrepancy. For a citizen seeking to understand the issue, accessing or reading summaries of these documents is essential. They reveal the mechanics of the business. They provide the context needed to evaluate the gravity of the allegations. The paper trail of valuations, loan applications, and financial statements is where the core of the financial story truly resides, far from the simplicity of a tweet or a cable news chyron. When a business empire becomes entangled with a political career, a new and complex layer of documentation comes into play. The rules governing campaign finance lobbying ethics are designed to create transparency and prevent corruption, and the records they generate are a vital resource for public understanding. Federal Election Commission filings are a primary source for tracking the flow of money in political campaigns. These detailed reports, which are publicly accessible online, list every contribution made to a campaign committee, including the donor's name, address, and the amount given. They also document every expenditure, showing how campaign funds are used, from advertising buys, staff salaries, event rentals. During Donald Trump's presidential campaigns and his time in office, these FEC filings provided a real-time ledger of financial activity. For example, news organizations and watchdog groups used FEC data to report on payments made by the campaign to Trump-owned businesses for services like event space rentals at Mar-a-Lago hotel stays. While such transactions are not inherently illegal, the public records allowed for scrutiny of potential self-dealing, where campaign funds were being directed back into the candidates' own companies. The documents did not offer a judgment on the ethics of the practice, but they confirmed the facts of the transactions, allowing the public to debate the implications of a president's campaign financially patronizing his own properties. Beyond campaign finance, lobbying disclosure records offer another window into the intersection of money and politics. The Lobbying Disclosure Act requires lobbyists to file public reports detailing who they are working for, what issues they are trying to influence, and how much they are paid. After the 2016 election, reports emerged of foreign governments and corporate interests booking large blocks of rooms and hosting events at the Trump International Hotel in Washington, D.C. While lobbying records might not directly show a quid pro quo, they can be cross-referenced with other documents to reveal patterns. Section 6. The gauntlet of the court's allegations versus judgments. The courtroom is where allegations are tested against evidence. Court records are among the most definitive public sources. The distinction between a claim and a proven fact is most apparent here. In the lawsuits filed against Trump University, complaints allege the seminar was a fraudulent scheme, that it misled students with false promises of wealth and promises of insider knowledge. Those documents contained powerful, detailed claims. But a complaint is only one side of the story. The defendant then files an answer denying the allegations and presenting their version of the facts. The legal process continues with motions. Discovery, where both sides exchange evidence, and potentially a trial. Ultimately, a settlement was reached before trial. In 2016, Trump agreed to pay $25 million to resolve the lawsuits. The settlement agreement is a public court document. It confirms a payment was made to the plaintiffs, but it contains a clause that the defendant does not admit wrongdoing. So the document confirms the $25 million outcome, but it does not include a judicial finding of fraud. A different outcome is a court judgment after a trial. A recent example, the Manhattan DA's criminal case on falsifying business records. Prosecutors filed an indictment alleging hush money payments during the 2016 campaign. The case went to a full trial. The jury heard testimony and reviewed evidence, checks, invoices, ledger entries. In May 2024, the jury delivered a verdict, finding Donald Trump guilty on 34 felony counts. That verdict and the judgment of conviction turned allegations into confirmed legal facts. Media frames the story, documents anchor it. When they diverge, we show both. Close reading of the Mueller report shows a more nuanced picture. Did not establish conspiracy. Does not exonerate on obstruction. Section 8. Verified versus disputed, a framework for clarity. To navigate the deluge of information about the Trump family, categorize claims into two buckets, those verified by public records and those that remain disputed or are pure allegations. Verified facts are claims supported by indisputable evidence, a court judgment, a signed settlement agreement, a recorded property sale, or a finding from an official government report. Several Trump-owned companies filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in the 1990s and in the 2000s. The bankruptcy court filings confirm this. Donald Trump paid $25 million to settle the Trump University lawsuits. The settlement agreement is a public record. The Trump Organization was convicted of tax fraud in New York in 2022. The verdict is a matter of public record. Donald Trump was convicted on 34 felony counts of falsifying business records in 2024. The jury's verdict is a confirmed legal outcome. In contrast, many other claims remain disputed, including allegations in ongoing lawsuits or assertions relying on anonymous sources or hearsay. Some elements moved to the verified column when a judge issued summary judgment in September 2023 finding certain statements were fraudulent, while other issues proceeded to trial. The work of a discerning citizen is to ask for the receipt. Look for the document that supports the claim. Governance, trust, and democracy. The meticulous process of separating fact from allegation has profound implications for public trust in institutions. Emoluments lawsuits were dismissed as moot after office, but the filings cataloged alleged transactions that fueled policy debates. Start with primary sources cited in reputable reporting. Look up a docket. Read an executive summary. We linked every claim to a source you can read. You don't need to trust us. B1 hitam framkor dogger deer. Yodigimon fear B1 deer 5. If you value fact-driven documentaries, hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe to the Fact Factory. More deep dives are on the way.